The Federal and Devaki Specialty Hospital jointly present the Madurai Marathon 2024 Run for Health on Sunday, October 20th, 2024. Entry is free for all.
Hello and a warm welcome to Federal's special program, Capital Beat. Tomorrow is the counting day for Jammu Kashmir and Haryana. And just ahead of the counting, there's hectic political activity in both states. As far as Jammu Kashmir is concerned, there are a few developments which have happened. An application has been filed in the Supreme Court, which is seeking appropriate directions to the government for the restoration of statehood for Jammu and Kashmir in a time-bound manner, which is 2 months. That's what the application says. And they say that if the statehood is not restored, then this amounts to violation of the federal structure of the constitution. Now, Engineer Rashid today held a press conference, and he has said that all the parties should unite together, whether it is the India bloc parties or whether it is the PDP, they should unite and take a stand that don't form the government till the statehood is restored. And then there is another tweet on which I want to talk about, and that is a tweet of Mr. K.C. Venugopal, who's the Congress General Secretary, and he has, if you can see it on your screen, this is the tweet, that there is a clear danger to the people's mandate in J&K. The INC-NC alliance is on the way to a historic victory, but the BJP is not ready to digest the democratic verdict and is planning to subvert this through any and all means available at its disposal. We are vigilant to all their dirty tricks and will not let them hijack our democracy. The misuse of institutions and the center's powers to alter the mandate will not be tolerated. Now, this tweet says a lot about what might happen or what might be in process. We do not know as of now, but this is as far as Jammu Kashmir is concerned. But as far as Haryana is concerned, Bhupinder Hooda is camping himself in Delhi, and lot of negotiations, I'm told, are happening as far as lobbying for the CM post is concerned. So I would straight away delve into the discussion. Joining me now is Puneet Nicholas Yadav, senior editor with The Federal. Thank you so much, Puneet, for joining. We have Rohin Kumar, who's a senior journalist and a YouTuber himself. He's the author of a book called Lal Chowk and is based in Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you so much, Rohin, for joining. And let me go to Rohin first. That Rohin, Engineer Rashid is saying that let all the parties unite and take a stand that first let the statehood be restored and then form the government. Now, what would you say to this? Why is he taking a stand like this?
Thank you so much. One, I feel it's the need of all the parties to gain trust in the valley because there has been an trend that might seem that NC and Congress alliance might be able to form a government, but there's also a significant number of seats going to others and independents, or maybe that is Awam Ittihad Party. Hence, all the parties that are regional based, especially Awam Ittihad Party or be it National Conference and even PDP, the exchange of words between Mehbooba Mufti and Farooq Abdullah, both seem to say that we need to work together as an alliance in the interest of Jammu and Kashmir. And in any way, they do not want BJP to be able to defect or even be able to any kind of do permutation and combinations because if by some of the exit polls and also the situation in Jammu, which we get a sense from the ground, seem to say that BJP is not doing as bad as it was expected. They might be able to secure at least 25 to 30 seats in Jammu region, and if that is the case, then the 5 MLAs that the LG has to nominate in Jammu and Kashmir, then it becomes a very different scenario for Jammu and Kashmir altogether. Hence, the exchange of words between all these regional parties who are like-minded basically are trying to forge a kind of alliance before the results, and hence all these tactics to get together. And also because if anybody, because they have had exchange of heated debates between all these parties, right, accusing each other, accusing NC, accusing PDP of going with and forming an alliance. and all of a sudden Gupkar alliance going in shatters, and then again soon after elections are over, exit polls have been announced, and now when election results are coming, it is again a possibility of formation of a Gupkar kind of alliance. Hence, this is also to show people that we all stand in solidarity with the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and hence this is also reflected as part of the petition that has been filed in the Supreme Court. Yeah.
All right. Puneet, now I'm coming to you. Is there a correlation between the application which has been filed in the Supreme Court? And also, I would like you to explain a little as to what this application has done on the eve of the counting day. And my initial question, that is there a correlation between what Engineer Rashid is saying and the manner in which this application has been filed, which is almost like a revised application to the writ petition? So how would you really see this development in context with the fact that the counting day is tomorrow and then one day before all this happens?
Neelu, thanks for having me. I don't really see a correlation between the application and Engineer Rashid's stand per se, because there are two slightly different aspects here. The application before the Supreme Court is simply saying, please direct the union government to initiate the process of restoration of statehood. It is not making the restoration of statehood incumbent, as a sort of a precursor to the formation of government in J&K. Whereas what Engineer Rashid is saying is that no government formation should take place till the time the restoration happens. So there is a slight difference between the two. So I don't really see a correlation. The need for the application also arises because of the shoddy, and I'm sorry to use this word, but the shoddy manner in which the Supreme Court dealt with the issue of statehood. You see, although the principal application, the writ petition before the Supreme Court was the abrogation of Article 370, there were at length discussions on the issue of statehood during that case. And unfortunately, the Supreme Court saw it fit to go by the word of the center presented to the court through Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General, who simply said that the center is considering it. And so when the final verdict came, the court did not address the issue of statehood at all. It simply said that it's going by the word of the central government. And it did not even lay out a timeline. It simply said it should be done as early as possible. Now, we've seen how as early as possible is deciphered in politics. In the Shiv Sena case in Maharashtra, there again, the court had asked for as early as possible, and then it dragged on for months, and Uddhav Thackeray had to go back to the Supreme Court. So I don't see a correlation. Now, the aspect of why the engineer is saying what he's saying, I don't want to attribute motives here, but the fact of the matter is, when the elections were called, the AIP and its chief certainly knew that these are elections to the to the UT Assembly, and that statehood has not been granted. So if his stand was going to be that there shouldn't be a government in J&K till the time statehood is restored, he shouldn't have contested the elections. He should have boycotted the elections and took a principled stand that we're boycotting the elections because this is an election for a completely emasculated assembly. And till the time the statehood is restored and all the powers of the state are restored, we will not go in for elections.
Right. Puneet, you made an important point, and sorry to interrupt you because I had this question in mind that the very fact that he should have boycotted, what you're saying is right. But the point is that what I'm told through sources that Engineer Rashid was in Delhi apparently, for the last 2 days. Now he's back to
Yeah.
Kashmir. He's in the press conference, and now he's saying that all the parties should unite and first restore the statehood and then form the government. Do you think, by any chance, Engineer Rashid is under some kind of a pressure from the union government? Would it be right to attribute that? I mean, I'm just speculating, but this question comes to my mind.
Well, as journalists, I don't think it's up to us to make those kind of insinuations on whether he's under pressure or not. The facts are on record. He is out on parole. He's due back. I mean, he's supposed to be back on the 2nd of October to Tihar. That was extended till the 12th of October. He's wanted under very stringent laws. A terror funding case is foisted against him. I'm not going into whether it's the right case or a wrong case, but the fact is that yes, he is facing certain cases. He is and under trial, so to speak, and so I mean, if there are pressures, it's it's for him to then maybe since he's now an elected member of parliament, he's very well within his rights to come out and say that I'm being pressurized by the BJP, or stay silent. I mean, it's entirely his call. But you see, forget what kind of what are the behind the scenes political moves over here. What one needs to really understand is, see, if you go by the exit polls, by and large, if you take an average, the exit polls suggest that the National Conference and the Congress are going to form the government. Most of them have given the lower end of their range at 48 to 50. Now, if it is 50, see, the actual working halfway mark of the J&K Assembly is not, unfortunately, is not 46 or 45. In simple majority mark of 46, halfway mark of 45, as one would expect, because it's a 90-member assembly. The actual working majority mark would be 48, because the 5 nominated members who have to be nominated by the Lieutenant Governor will also exercise voting rights when it comes to voting for the government, to a floor test or, to bills, etc., etc. So the actual mark is 48. Now, will the NC and the Congress together cross that 48 mark comfortably? We've seen a rare gesture by Dr. Farooq Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti saying, Mehbooba Mufti making the first move and offering her support to the National Conference and the Congress government if needed. And I think Dr. Farooq Abdullah, for a change, has been magnanimous enough today to not only acknowledge Mehbooba Mufti's offer, but also say that, and he said this on record, that even if we do not need their support, even if we have the numbers, we will still take their support because we want to carry everybody along. So in that case, I think, crossing the 50 mark will not be a problem. What will be a problem will still be the 5 nominated members. And I just want to quickly add here, because I think maybe you missed out on one point. There is a J&K BJP office bearer, senior office bearer, Vice President Sophie Yusuf. He's a bit of a loudmouth. He has spoken to the press today, and he's on record. Officially, he has said that all 5 nominated members will be BJP members. And he has even given out the names of the 5 people who have to be nominated. And he has said Ashok Kaul, Rajni Sethi, Farida Khan, Suresh Sethi, and Geeta Thakur. Now, all of them are actually office bearers of the BJP or past office bearers of the BJP. So, I mean, the game there is pretty clear. Now, even if they are not the actual nominees are not these.
What you just mentioned about these 5 nominated members, is this the reason why KC Venugopal had to put out this tweet and say that, there's some kind of a dirty game which is on and we are quite vigilant onto this? So what could be this dirty game then, if at all we are speculating on
Quite certainly, this would be one to somehow play with the numbers. But I think this would still be a very minor of for the lack of a better word, I would call a minor offense against democracy. I think a more major offense would still be in the pipeline, because what I am given to understand is that there are going to be, over the next few days or maybe weeks, major changes in the transaction of business rules for the J&K government. Now, the TBR is very essential here, because in the case of union territories, and we've seen this play out very badly, and a lot of chaos in Delhi,
Delhi?
and also to an extent in Pondicherry, because there have to be transaction of business rules. Those rules govern the powers that the government and the state assembly can exercise. If at all the BJP wants to completely, like they've done in Delhi, completely emasculate the state assembly and the state government, they are, since it's still a UT, the statehood has not been restored, they can alter the TBR, substantially, and completely cripple the state government, so the UT government. So irrespective of the numbers they get, they are going to be in for a long battle, for the long haul, against the powers of the center, and of course with the lieutenant governor in Srinagar.
True. Some very important points coming from you, Puneet. But Rohin, for a common man to understand this intricate politics, which is an hectic politics, which is happening just one day before, for a common man on the road to understand as to what is really happening between Delhi and Jammu Kashmir, uh, is it an effort, an outright effort by maybe the BJP government to stop the India alliance to form a government in J&K? How would a commoner understand this? All these intricate things which are happening, which are underway, is this just an effort to stop the National Conference and Congress to form the government in J&K?
When it comes to Jammu and Kashmir, 80% of Indians do not tend to question the intentions of the union government. If Because if you see a lot of patterns within these elections as well, all of a sudden Jamaat Islami coming into picture and fighting an election, Jamaat Islami members praising the Modi government, saying things that else would have not said ever, and saying that if we contest elections and if we win elections, the ban might be removed from Jamaat Islami Jammu and Kashmir. So there are patterns which always suggest, somebody who understands Jammu and Kashmir, for somebody who is new to understanding the politics of Jammu and Kashmir, one also needs to get that perspective that militancy in Jammu and Kashmir actually started because Jammu and Kashmir had witnessed rigging and had witnessed all these debates on if elections could be free and fair in Jammu and Kashmir, right? So all of the time when we were on ground, we talked to people. One was, of course, an hopelessness that when whoever forms the government in Jammu and Kashmir will be run by Delhi. Other was always that if the government would be able to conduct a free and fair election, because the credibility of election commission itself all over country is in shatters. And when it comes to Jammu and Kashmir, uh, any Kashmiri can tell you how the bureaucracy operates in Jammu and Kashmir, how the agencies operate in Jammu and Kashmir. And since you also mentioned about the inside politics, I would not call it a dirty politics, but there have been a lot of permutation and combination by the BJP and the union government uh, to kind of stop, I would not say, but not have Abdullahs and Muftis have a say in the government, or not at least get them to the forefront of the government. In Jammu and Kashmir, BJP and the union government, especially the Modi government, has always wanted in last 10 years to create a parallel leadership. However, they have successfully failed, I would say. They started with Altaf Bukhari Apni party. Only one leader in Jammu and Kashmir who could get an appointment with the home minister when all the chief ministers were put behind bars. Then we also saw Awami Ittihad party coming all of a sudden and contesting in a lot of seats. We also saw a lot of independent candidates coming into picture and saying things right. In Jammu region, and also the curious case of 5 MLAs now, and the BJP spokesperson now announcing the names of these MLAs. So there are a lot of speculations, and the entry of Ram Madhav altogether into Jammu and Kashmir just before elections. I mean, I have talked to a few old Jamaat Islami members, and they said that Ram Madhav actually had some meetings with Jamaat Islami candidates, right? I do not actually say that this is factual or not, but this is what a Jamaat old member told to me on ground in Kulgam. That Ram Madhav had come to Kulgam and he actually met a few Jamaat Islami members. And the whole idea was not do they want that the Jamaat Islami win these seats, but they want that Jamaat Islami could at least fracture the whole mandate by some 5% or even 7%, or maybe get 5,000 votes or 7,000 votes and significantly impact those elections, right? To me, as an author or as an analyst, these elections would also decide the course of politics in Jammu and Kashmir. It would also decide the future of Jammu and Kashmir, because what Awami Ittihad party has been saying, or what Engineer Rashid has been saying, and fortunately or unfortunately, I have actually known Engineer Rashid for last 7 years before he was put behind bars, and he is a person who would always speak his mind. But because he was put behind the bars, UAPA was registered against him. Uh, what he says actually resonates with the sentiments of Kashmiris. But Engineer Rashid is seen as a proxy and a BJP's agent in Jammu and Kashmir today. And the reasons for that is the way he won, or he was made to won against Umar Abdullah. That is also one of the theories that runs on the ground. And the hatred, I would say the word hatred, for the central leadership against Umar Abdullahs and Muftis, because I can tell you a lot of example and how the bureaucracy, just before these elections were into the third phase, ED actually had opened one of the cases on Farooq Abdullah recently. So there have been a lot of these combinations happening with the BJP and trying to actually not get Abdullahs and Muftis to the power. Hence, I would say that to understand the complexities of Jammu and Kashmir and the formation of government altogether, in any ideal situation, the 5 nominated MLAs by the LG would always be decided after the results were announced. But now, even before the results are announced, list of MLAs actually being announced, and these MLAs being these nominated members being the members, office bearers of BJP. So it clearly gives an indication that BJP by hook or crook wants either a very weak government in Jammu and Kashmir, or try all their mighty power to at least form a government by themselves by defecting MLAs or by getting independents to their side. And I still today, a lot of things will depend on what are the numbers that Congress is able to get, because NC as a party, even on ground, people do not trust NC as such that they would not form an alliance with the BJP, right? So these are all the possibilities that would happen, and ultimate result is Kashmiris are going to fail, right? People say that in any case, anybody forms the government, we as people, we as the constituents are going to fail.
Right. Uh, so what happens now, Puneet? And then I'll talk to you about a little about Haryana also, and then we'll wind up the show. So, Puneet, in that case, all the scenarios and the situations which we have discussed so far in context to Jammu and Kashmir. Now, what happens? Can there be I don't know when Supreme Court is going to hear the matter because I missed out on the date. But this application which has been filed, is there a possibility that the Supreme Court might get into this issue and say that the government should not be formed till the statehood is restored, or we should deal with this subject totally differently because Supreme Court will not get into this?
No, I don't think the Supreme Court is going to stall the formation of the government. Uh,
Okay.
what I do know for a fact is that this was, in any case, a line of action that the National Conference and the Congress Party had been discussing. That
Okay.
as soon as the results are out, see, both these parties will also be sitting, if they are, of course, forming the government, they'll be sitting together and coming up with a CMP. The top agenda on the CMP, on the Common Minimum Program, is going to be the restoration of statehood. On that issue, one of the first things that the two parties, along with the other parties of the Gupta alliance, uh, whether it's the CPM or the Panthers Party or the PDP, what I'm given to understand is that they would have, in any case, moved the Supreme Court seeking restoration, directions to the center for restoration. Now, since an application has already been moved to that effect, they might move an application still asking for themselves to be impleaded as parties in that case. How that case proceeds, of course, we'll have to wait and see, when it is listed, what are the directions, whether it drags on. There are multiple issues there. And then, of course, there is the political fight for their demand for restoration of statehood and to prevent the LG from, running roughshod over an elected government. So that will have to be fought separately. I do want to, with apologies to Rohin, I do have one correction to make to what he said. The ED had not opened the case against Dr. Farooq Abdullah before the elections. It had closed the case against Dr. Farooq Abdullah, and
Yes.
and in fact, that instance had created fresh doubts on the loyalties of the National Conference, because the National Conference, and particularly Dr. Farooq Abdullah, is known to sing different tunes when it suits them politically. And might I tell you, throughout my travels in JNK, irrespective of the numbers that the National Conference manages to eventually get in these elections, and even if it is able to form the government, the trust factor with the National Conference is very, very low in the valley. People do not trust the National Conference blindly. The only reason that the valley is going to vote for the National Conference, and I suspect it will be in large numbers, is because it's an anti-BJP vote. And that is the reason why I believe that the AIP is also not going to perform well. Neither are anybody else, any of the other players who have been sort of tainted by this thing of being a proxy of the BJP. So I highly suspect the victory prospects of Altaf Bukhari in Chanapora, of Sajad Lone, although I think he might still swing Handwara, but I doubt he'll win the Kupwara seat. And he's contesting from two. And of the dozen odd Jamaat candidates, barring Kulgam, where it is going to be a bit of a close fight, I really doubt that any of the other Jamaat candidates are going to even poll substantial numbers of vote. So I mean, with JNK, things are going to only get more and more complicated here on. It's not going to be easy for the government. It will also, let me add, it will also not be very easy for the Congress and the National Conference, because there are issues on which they do not see eye to eye. And in fact, a number of the Congress's candidates will largely be losing their elections or will potentially be losing their elections because of the National Conference. So, whereas it's an irony that some of the National Conference leaders are winning not because purely their own cadre vote, but also because of the goodwill that Rahul was able to create post Bharat Jodo Yatra for his own party. And, by extension, because they are in alliance, people thought, and this is something that a lot of people told me, including in areas where the Congress was completely finished, till these elections, and for a long time, where people said that we'll vote for the National Conference because we know that Rahul Gandhi will not let the Abdullahs side with the BJP, come what may. I mean, even within that alliance, there will be things. We'll have to see what kind of a CMP they are able to come out with if they form the government. It's going to be very, very interesting. Unfortunately, not so interesting for the people of Kashmir.
Absolutely. And I'm glad
just
we could,
adding to
yes, Rohin, I'm
Just
sorry, you
adding
said
to
something.
what Puneet said. First, Puneet, thanks for correcting me. The second point, even Umar Abdullah's seat, both the seats are in a very tight fight, and there would be chances. What if Abdullah maybe loses both his seats? There would be a lot of confusions being created now. There would be a lot of new alliances, what I may say, may be formed, and there are high possibilities that even if NC and Congress are able to form a government, it is not going to be a very stable government, given the mighty powers that the BJP has.
Right. I'm glad that we
In
could
fact,
have,
I mean,
sorry, sir.
Neelu, I mean, with regard to Omar, he's contesting from the Ganderbal and the Badgam seats. I have my doubts on whether he's going to make it in Ganderbal. But in Badgam, let me tell you that, and this is, I spent some time there. If he wins, it's not going to be a cakewalk in Badgam either. But if he wins Badgam, it is not on his strength. He'll win because of the support, because of the extensive work that has been done for him by Aga Ruhullah Mehdi, the sitting MP from Srinagar. It is his backyard, and in fact, Omar is pitted against Ruhullah's skin in that seat. So it's not a very comfortable election for Omar either.
Absolutely. In fact, Puneet, I wanted to come to you on the last bit on Haryana as to what is the kind of political activity which is happening in Delhi. I'm told that Bhupinder Hooda is now camping in Delhi and they've started lobbying for the CM post. Now, is there a confusion within the Congress camp whether at all Bhupinder Hooda will become the CM?
Well, I think with regard to Haryana, by and large, I mean, if you look at it rationally, one would imagine that there is no confusion. One would want to imagine that there is no confusion and that Bhupinder Hooda is the front runner. Because, see, there are 90 seats there, out of which the Congress fielded candidates on 88. Out of those 88 seats, Bhupinder Hooda's, because of the typical camp politics and factional politics of the Congress, Bhupinder Hooda's camp had 72 candidates out of those 88 that the party has fielded. Now, the general refrain in the Congress when it comes to electing a chief minister is that the MLAs, whoever the majority of the MLAs in the CLP prefer, the High Command will choose. Although in reality that is not how it always plays out. But there are chief ministers that the High Command paradrops, much to the detriment of the party in the long run. But out in the case of Haryana, it will be very difficult for the Congress High Command to cast Bhupinder Hooda aside. There will, of course, be a very strong push for the CM's chair if the Congress forms a government in Haryana by Kumari Shelja. She is as senior a leader in Haryana as Bhupinder Hooda is. She may not be a mass leader like Bhupinder Hooda, but she has her own pockets of influence, and she's a Dalit. Plus, she's a very, very close confidant of Sonia Gandhi. So there are things that go in her favor, except the fact that I don't think she will enjoy that kind of mass, support in the CLP or even across the state. So, I would still bet on Bhupinder Hooda. But then who knows? The Congress is known to do to pull a surprise, and sometimes very silly surprises. So there may be maybe a dark horse. Randeep Surjewala has been lobbying for it. I am given to understand even Uday Bhan is who's the Haryana Congress chief, is lobbying for it. Although what I've been told is that Uday Bhan asking for the chief minister's thing is chair is more of a play on the Dalit identity politics and to offset Shailaja's chances, because the argument then would be that if the Congress High Command decides to go with a Dalit, then Uday Bhan, as the PCC president, had been leading the party in the state. He enjoys a good working relationship with Bhupinder Hooda. He's in fact Bhupinder Hooda's man, and so it will be easier for the party and the government to function properly. Unlike the case of Punjab, where they completely mucked it up because of the constant fights between Amrinder Singh and Navjot Sidhu, and then later Charanjit Singh Channi and Navjot Sidhu. So Uday Bhan's been lobbying for it, and then there are other names, that do the rounds, which I don't really put much stock to. But there is a precedent of the Congress pulling a surprise in its CM face in Haryana, because in fact in 2005 that's how Bhupinder Hooda rose to prominence. Because in 2005, when the Congress won a majority, a huge majority in the Haryana Assembly, everybody had expected, and also the CLP was largely of the view that Bhajan Lal should be made the chief minister. And then Sonia Gandhi pulled the surprise last minute and pushed for Bhupinder Hooda, and that's how Bhupinder Hooda, who of course I wouldn't say was a nobody. He had his own, pockets of influence. He was still an influential Jat face and all of that. But that was the election that, that was the election that really established him in the long run. And then, of course, his own work in the state. So he remains the favorite. See, and he's been in Delhi. There are, of course, post election, there are certain, once the results are out, there are certain back channel maneuverings that have to be done, which he needs to keep the High Command in the loop about. There may be a couple of independents who win, who may want to, irrespective of whether the Congress gets a majority or on its own or not, who may want to, some independents who may want to, extend their support to the Congress. And these are largely people close to Bhupinder Hooda who are contesting as independents. So, if they manage to win, then what is the deal that the Congress is willing to do with them? That comes into play, although I doubt it'll come to that. But yeah, I mean, there are various talks, and he's basically here to meet Deepak Babaria, and I'm told they had a long meeting last evening. And Deepak Babaria is the in charge for Haryana, and he is, in fact, somebody who's very close to Bhupinder Hooda, and someone who, despite being the in charge for Haryana, doesn't see eye to eye with either Kumari Shailja or Randeep Surjewala. So, during the candidate selection process, is because the Congress's process, just went on, and it's only on the last day of filing nominations that several names were announced. Deepak Babaria had suddenly gone missing, saying that, he's unwell and he has to be hospitalized and all of that, primarily because he did not want to, get into that fight between Shailja and Hooda, because there were some candidates which Shailja was still pushing for. And so he just, sent the names off to K.C. Venugopal, and he disappeared from the scene. And after that, he's emerged now when it's clear that the Congress is going to form the government, with Bhupinder Hooda being the front runner for the CM's post.
So a lot of surprises, and I'm glad we could have this conversation with both of you on Haryana and Jammu Kashmir. So we still do not know as to what is going to happen in Jammu Kashmir and also in Haryana. Maybe the Congress forms the government, but who's going to be the CM? The suspense I think would continue for a few days at least. So we'll have to wait and watch as to what happens. But tomorrow, for the counting day, the big day, please stay tuned to the Federal for live coverages and interviews tomorrow. And thanks to both of you, Rohin and Puneet. It was wonderful having you on the program. And one appeal to the viewers who are watching this discussion: subscribe to our channel, send us a feedback, and stay tuned to the Federal.
The Federal and Devaki Specialty Hospital jointly present the Madurai Marathon 2024 Run for Health on Sunday, October 20th, 2024. Entry is free for all.